When you see this, God is about to change your life. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a moment and really listen to me today because what I am about to share with you could mark the beginning of a transformation unlike anything you have ever experienced. Life has a way of moving us forward, sometimes gently, sometimes abruptly, but every moment, whether we notice it or not, carries the hand of God guiding us toward our destiny. And there are signs, subtle, powerful, unmistakable, that God uses to signal that a change, a true life changing shift, is about to take place. How often do we go through life feeling stuck, feeling like nothing is moving in our favor, or believing that our circumstances define who we are and where we are going? We wait for something big to happen, something obvious, without realizing that God often works in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Sometimes the signs he gives us are so delicate that we can almost overlook them. A word in a conversation, a fleeting thought, a sudden opportunity, or even a moment of stillness that stirs something deep within your soul. These are not coincidences. These are God's messages, his way of saying, pay attention. I'm about to change your life. And this change, I want you to understand, does not depend on your strength, your intelligence, or your planning. It depends on your readiness to see it, to recognize it, and to step into it with faith. Ladies and gentlemen, God's work in our lives is always perfectly timed. He does not rush and He does not delay. Even when we feel impatient, even when the waiting seems unbearable, He is orchestrating every detail, arranging every piece of the puzzle so that when the time comes, the transformation will be flawless and the impact undeniable. Too often we resist the very signs God places before us because they challenge our comfort zones. They call us to step out of what is familiar, to let go of control, and to trust that He knows what we cannot yet see. But let me tell you something powerful. The moment you begin to notice these signs, and the moment you respond to them with faith rather than fear, is the moment your life starts to change. God's guidance is not meant to scare you, it is meant to awaken you, to open your eyes to possibilities far greater than you ever imagined. So today, I want you to open your hearts and minds. I want you to prepare yourself to recognize the signs that God has placed in your path. What you are about to see, feel, and understand is not just a message, it is a call to action, a divine invitation to step into the next season of your life. When God is about to move, He always gives a signal. And when you see that signal, when you truly see it, your life will never be the same again. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready, pay attention. What you are about to witness, what you are about to understand, is God's way of telling you your breakthrough is near, your transformation is imminent, and your destiny is waiting. If you want, I can now write the continuation of this speech immediately after this intro, fully blending it into the main content with Neville Goddard style spiritual depth, hitting around 1,000 to 1,200 words total. When God chooses to move in your life, it always happens according to His perfect timing. There is a rhythm, a divine clockwork that operates far beyond our understanding. What may feel like delay, what may seem like waiting or stagnation, is often God's way of aligning everything that is necessary for your breakthrough. Too often we look at the calendar, we look at our own plans, and we measure progress by what we can see or control. But God's timing does not conform to our expectations. It is far wiser, far more precise, and far more beneficial than anything we could ever orchestrate ourselves. Every season you experience is part of preparation. Every waiting period, every period of silence, every moment of apparent inaction is God meticulously setting the stage for what is about to come. Imagine a seed planted in the soil. It does not sprout the moment it hits the ground. There is a season of darkness, a season of nourishment, and a season of growth that must happen invisibly before the seed becomes a tree. Your life works in the same way. What you see, what you feel, is only a small part of the larger picture. God is working behind the scenes, unseen, arranging circumstances, people, and opportunities so that when your moment arrives, it arrives perfectly, without flaw. Understanding divine timing requires patience, but it also requires awareness. Many of us become frustrated when our prayers seem unanswered or our dreams seem distant. We forget that God does not work according to human urgency. He does not rush because he knows that rushing can destroy the very outcome we long for. Sometimes we want a breakthrough immediately, before we are ready, before the circumstances are fully aligned, and if it were granted too soon, it might not sustain us. God's timing ensures that when the miracle comes, it comes fully prepared to last, fully capable of transforming your life in a lasting way. Divine timing also teaches us trust. When you begin to see that everything is unfolding according to a greater plan, you begin to release fear and impatience. You begin to understand that there is wisdom in waiting and that every delay carries purpose. Perhaps the person you are meant to meet, the opportunity you are meant to seize, or the blessing you are meant to receive is not ready yet, not because God is slow, but because the world, the circumstances, and even your own readiness must align. Once you see this truth, your perspective changes. You stop forcing outcomes, you stop trying to manipulate situations, and you start moving in harmony with God's divine rhythm. Even the smallest events in your life are often timed perfectly to prepare you for the next stage: a chance encounter, a conversation, a challenge, a failure. Each moment carries hidden significance. God's timing is not just about when something happens, it is about preparing your heart, mind, and spirit for what is coming. Every delay is a lesson, every pause is a shaping, every waiting period is a calibration of your inner being. When you embrace this understanding, you realize that patience is not passive, it is active trust. It is faith in the unseen orchestration of a higher power. The remarkable thing about divine timing is that it always aligns with your highest good. Even when it is hard to understand, even when the waiting seems unbearable, God's timing never fails. He knows when you are ready, when your spirit is prepared, and when the circumstances will be most conducive for the miracle to manifest fully. Nothing is wasted. Every struggle, every tear, every moment of longing serves a purpose. When the breakthrough comes, it will be complete, unmistakable, and perfectly suited for the life God intends for you. The challenge for us is to stay attentive, to watch for the signs, to recognize the nudges of the Spirit, and to respond with patience and faith rather than frustration. Divine timing is often invisible, but it is never random. God moves in ways we cannot predict, orchestrating countless details that align seamlessly at the precise moment. When you trust this process, when you surrender the need to control the timing yourself, you open the door to miracles that are far beyond your imagination. And so, understanding divine timing is not just about waiting, it is about preparing, observing, and moving with faith. It is about recognizing that the delays, the pauses, the waiting periods are all part of God's perfect design. Every season, every event, every person in your path has a purpose that aligns with the plan He has for your life. Once you internalize this truth, you can face life with confidence, knowing that nothing is late, nothing G is wasted, and nothing is random. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should, and the perfect moment of transformation is coming, just as God intended. If you want, I can immediately write Keynote 2 in the same style, keeping it around 800 to 1,000 words so you can have a full series of speeches ready for your presentation. God often communicates in ways that are subtle, mysterious, and completely unexpected. The signs He sends are rarely loud fanfares or glaring announcements. Instead, they arrive quietly, almost unnoticed, in moments that may seem ordinary at first glance. A conversation that sparks an idea, a verse that resonates in your heart, a dream that lingers in your mind, or even a feeling that rises unexpectedly. All of these can be God's way of signaling that a life-changing shift is about to occur. The key is to pay attention and to recognize that these moments are not coincidences. They are deliberate, divine markers designed to guide you toward your destiny. Many of us overlook these signs because they do not arrive in the form we expect. We are conditioned to look for clear, unmistakable proof that God is moving on our behalf, yet His guidance often comes in forms that require discernment. A stranger's encouragement, a random opportunity, a book, a song, or even a sudden obstacle can be God's hand at work. If we remain blind to these subtle messages, we risk missing the very things that could transform our lives. God does not always work according to human logic or expectation. His ways are higher, his methods often mysterious, and his signs are tailored uniquely to each individual. The beauty of these unexpected signs is that they often arrive at the exact CT moment we need them most. When life feels confusing, when we are uncertain of the path ahead, or when despair threatens to cloud our vision, God places a signal before us. It may be something small, a single word, a fleeting impression, or an unexpected encounter, but its impact can be profound. These signs serve as divine confirmation that we are on the right path, that we are being guided, and that a greater plan is unfolding in ways we cannot yet see. Recognizing these signs requires sensitivity, awareness, and an open heart. One of the greatest lessons we can learn is to trust that God's signs are always purposeful. He never sends messages arbitrarily or without intention. Every detail, no matter how minor it may appear, has a reason. Perhaps a challenge you face is preparing you for a future role. Perhaps a sudden door opening is leading you to the opportunity you have prayed for. Perhaps a chance meeting is the connection that will change your trajectory. When you begin to see the hand of God in these unexpected ways, life begins to feel alive with possibility. You start to understand that nothing is random, nothing is wasted, and that the universe itself is conspiring in your favor. God's signs also call for action. They are not merely to be observed, they are invitations to participate in His plan. When a sign appears, it is an opportunity to respond with faith, to take a step forward, and to trust in the unseen guidance of God. Hesitation, doubt, or overanalysis can cause us to miss the moment. The key is to act with courage, to step into the opportunities presented, and to move in alignment with what God is revealing. Every time we respond to these divine nudges, we position ourselves to receive more of His blessings and to experience the transformation He intends for us. Another remarkable aspect of God's unexpected signs is that they often challenge our assumptions. They may push us out of our comfort zones, confront our fears, or redirect our plans. And yet, these moments are precisely when growth occurs. Change is rarely comfortable, and divine transformation rarely comes in predictable packages. The unexpected nature of these signs ensures that we are ready to receive the fullness of God's plan. By embracing them rather than resisting them, we demonstrate faith, obedience, and readiness to align with God's will. Ultimately, recognizing and responding to God's unexpected signs requires spiritual awareness. It demands that we cultivate stillness in our lives, listen closely to the whispers of the Spirit, and remain alert to the subtle ways in which He communicates. Patience, discernment, and a willingness to embrace the unknown become essential tools. When we develop these qualities, we become attuned to God's timing, His direction, and His miraculous intervention. Every sign, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, becomes a guidepost, pointing us toward the life He has prepared. God uses unexpected signs to remind us that He is always present, always active, and always guiding. The ordinary becomes extraordinary when seen through the lens of faith. The overlooked becomes pivotal, the mundane becomes miraculous, and the unnoticed becomes the doorway to transformation. When you learn to recognize these signs and respond with faith, you will begin to experience life in a profound new way. God's guidance is always closer than you think, and His signs are always waiting to lead you into your destiny. If you want, I can now write Keynote 3 in the same style, keeping it around 800 words, so your full series of speeches will be ready. Fear is one of the greatest obstacles that stands between you and the life God intends for you. It whispers doubt into your mind, convinces you that you are not ready, and tells you that the circumstances around you are stronger than the power within you. Fear keeps you small, trapped, and hesitant, preventing the miraculous from entering your life. But God has not called you to live in fear. He has called you to live in faith, to trust in His power, His timing, and His perfect plan for your life. Faith is not a feeling, It is a conscious choice to believe in what is unseen, to act on the promises of God even when your eyes cannot yet perceive the outcome. When fear arises, it is often because we are focused on what is visible, what is temporary, and what we think we can control. But faith shifts your focus from the limited scope of the natural world to the infinite possibilities of the spiritual world. It allows you to see beyond your current situation, beyond the obstacles, and beyond the doubts that plague your mind. Faith reminds you that God's power is greater than any circumstance, and that His wisdom surpasses your understanding. When you choose faith over fear, you align yourself with divine forces that can bring about transformation, healing, and unimaginable blessings. Releasing fear is not about denying its presence, it is about refusing to let it control your actions. You acknowledge fear, but you do not obey it. You recognize the tension it eats and consciously choose to respond differently. In those moments of uncertainty, you remind yourself of God's promises, of His faithfulness in the past, and of His perfect plan for your future. Fear may knock at your door, but faith opens it to God's power. Every time you act in faith, even when fear tries to dominate, you strengthen your spirit and prepare yourself for the breakthrough that is coming. Faith requires courage. It asks you to step into the unknown, to walk paths you have never walked, and to trust guidance you cannot yet see. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting in spite of fear. When you embrace faith, you are essentially saying, I may not understand everything, but I trust God completely. I will move forward even when the path is unclear, because I know He is with me. This courage, born from faith, unlocks doors that fear would otherwise keep shut. Opportunities, miracles, and life changing experiences often require this very step, a deliberate act of trust in the unseen. Fear also thrives on comparison and distraction. It tells you that others are moving faster, that they are more capable, or that you are behind. But faith reminds you that God's plan is unique to you. Your journey is not measured by someone else's timeline. What God has in store for you cannot be replicated, delayed, or stolen. When you focus on faith instead of fear, you stop measuring your worth against the world and start aligning with the destiny God has prepared. Your attention shifts from what could go wrong to what God promises will go right. Faith transforms your inner world, which in turn transforms your outer world. When you believe that God is orchestrating everything for your good, fear loses its grip. Doubt is replaced with confidence, anxiety with peace, and hesitation with boldness. This transformation is not instantaneous. It grows as you practice trusting God in small moments, in daily decisions, and in times when the outcome is uncertain. Each act of faith, no matter how minor it may seem, builds momentum for the larger miracles that God is preparing. One of the most powerful aspects of faith is that it activates God's power in your life. Fear paralyzes, faith mobilizes. When you choose faith, you are signaling to God that you are ready to receive His guidance, His blessings, and His transformative work. You become a co-creator with Him, participating in the manifestation of His promises. The more you embrace faith, the more visible God's work becomes in your life, and the more you begin to recognize that He is not just watching from afar, He is actively orchestrating everything for your benefit. Releasing fear and embracing faith is a daily practice. It is not a one-time event, but a continuous choice. Every time you confront fear and choose faith, you are stepping into a higher level of spiritual alignment. You are saying yes to God's power, yes to His timing, and yes to His plan. And in doing so, you create a life where miracles are possible, transformation is inevitable, and your destiny is fulfilled. Faith is the key that unlocks every door fear has locked. It allows you to see beyond the temporary, to trust in the eternal, and to act in alignment with God's will. The moment you embrace faith fully, fear loses its authority over you. You become unstoppable, unshakable, and fully prepared for the divine change that God has already set in motion for your life. If you want, I can now write Keynote 4 in the same 800-word style, so your full speech series will continue seamlessly. Before every great breakthrough, God is at work preparing you in ways you often cannot see or understand. Many times, we pray for change, we pray for miracles, and we cry out for transformation, yet we grow impatient when the results do not appear immediately. What we fail to realize is that God's preparation is as important as the miracle itself. He is shaping your heart, your mind, and your spirit so that when the blessing comes, you are ready to receive it fully, without fear, doubt, or hesitation. The preparation period is not a delay, it is a divine design that ensures your miracle will be permanent, powerful, and perfectly aligned with your destiny. God's preparation often begins internally. He works on your thoughts, your beliefs, and your perceptions. The way you see yourself, the way you see the world, and the way you respond to challenges are all being refined. Every trial, every lesson, every experience is a tool in His hands, shaping you to become the person who can handle the miracle He is about to release. Just as a musician must practice before performing a masterpiece, and a tree must grow deep roots before bearing fruit, you must be cultivated and strengthened so that your life can sustain the blessings God is preparing. Sometimes the preparation is invisible. You may feel like nothing is happening, like you are stuck in the same place, or like your prayers are unanswered. But these periods of apparent stillness are often the most critical. God is aligning circumstances, positioning opal, and orchestrating events behind the scenes to create the perfect environment for your breakthrough. What looks like waiting is actually a season of divine activity that ensures your miracle is complete and lasting. The more you trust this process, the more peace and patience you cultivate, and the more powerful your eventual transformation will be. Preparation also involves purification. God removes the habits, mindsets, and attachments that could hinder the miracle. He brings clarity where there is confusion, strength where there is weakness, and wisdom where there is ignorance. Sometimes He allows situations to test your faith, not to punish you, but to shape you. Each test, each challenge, and each moment of waiting is a refining fire that prepares you for the greater work ahead. By the time the miracle arrives, you are not only ready to receive it, you are ready to steward it, to use it wisely, and to honor the hand of God in your life. Another aspect of preparation is alignment. God positions people, opportunities, and resources in your life in ways that you may not immediately recognize. A chance encounter, a new connection, a piece of knowledge, or an unexpected solution may appear right when you need it most. These alignments are not random, they are divine orchestration. Every detail is part of the preparation process, ensuring that when the miracle manifests, all elements converge perfectly to support it. Recognizing these alignments requires attentiveness, gratitude, and faith that God is actively working even when nothing seems to happen. Faith during the preparation period is critical. Often we want results first and readiness later, but God operates in reverse. He prepares you first so that when the miracle arrives, it does not overwhelm you, it does not slip away, and it transforms your life permanently. Faith allows you to trust the unseen process, to believe in the invisible work, and to continue moving forward even when the timing seems uncertain. The more you embrace faith, the more attuned you become to the signs and signals of God's preparation in your life. Preparation is also about growth in character and heart. God uses this time to teach patience, humility, gratitude, and resilience. He teaches you to rely on Him completely, to detach from self sufficiency, and to recognize that the miracle is His work, not yours. By the time the blessing arrives, your heart is ready to receive it with joy, your spirit is ready to steward it with wisdom, and your mind is ready to understand its significance. The preparation process is the invisible miracle that enables the visible miracle to be fully realized. God's preparation is a promise of a miracle to come. Every experience, every delay, every refinement is a sign that the blessing is approaching. The key is to remain patient, to stay faithful, and to trust that nothing is wasted. When you see the signs, when you recognize the progress, even if subtle, you will understand that God has been working all along. By the time the miracle manifests, it will not just meet your expectations, it will exceed them. It will not just change your circumstances, it will change you. Understanding God's preparation transforms how you see your life. You stop seeing waiting periods as punishment or stagnation. You begin to see them as divine shaping, purposeful refining, and intentional alignment. Each moment of preparation becomes a building block, each challenge a lesson, each period of silence a sign that God is at work. The miracle is coming, and every experience along the way has been designed to ensure that when it arrives, you are ready to receive it fully, to embrace it completely, and to walk in the new season God has prepared for you. If you want, I can now write Keynote 5 in the same 800-word style, so your full speech series on all 5 keynotes will be complete. Transformation is not a matter of chance, it is the natural result of obedience to God. Every step you take in alignment with His will, every act of faith, every moment you choose to follow His guidance, brings you closer to the life He has destined for you. Obedience is not merely following rules, it is a conscious surrender to the wisdom, timing, and direction of God. It is a recognition that His ways are higher than your ways, and that His plan is always better than anything you could imagine or create on your own. When you choose obedience, transformation becomes inevitable because you place yourself directly in the path of divine intervention. Obedience begins in the heart. It is the willingness to listen to the gentle nudges of the Spirit, to respond to the inner callings that often challenge your comfort zone, and to trust the unseen hand of God guiding you forward. Many of us struggle because we want to see the full picture before we act, but God rarely gives us the entire plan at once. Instead, He gives us instructions, nudges, and subtle guidance. Obedience is the courage to follow these promptings, even when we do not fully understand the outcome. Every act of obedience, no matter how small, builds momentum for the transformation God is preparing. The process of transformation through obedience is often gradual. God rarely brings change all at once because lasting transformation requires inner alignment. He works on your character, your habits, your mindset, and your spirit. Obedience during this process is critical because it allows His work to continue uninterrupted. When you resist, you delay the transformation. When you comply, you accelerate it. Think of obedience as a river flowing in its natural course. If it meets resistance, it slows. If it flows freely, it nourishes everything in its path. Your willingness to obey allows the currents of God's power to move through your life without hindrance. Obedience also requires trust. You must trust that the instructions God gives, whether through scripture, circumstances, or inner conviction, are designed for your highest good. Trust that He is orchestrating your experiences, even the challenging ones, to refine and prepare you. When you obey without hesitation, you are signaling to God that you are ready to be transformed. You open yourself to receiving His blessings fully, without fear, doubt, or limitation. This trust fuels transformation because it aligns your will with His, allowing divine power to operate unhindered in your life. One of the most profound aspects of transformation through obedience is the alignment of timing. God's plan unfolds in perfect order, and obedience ensures that you are moving in harmony with His schedule. Many times, miracles and breakthroughs are delayed not because God is absent, but because we have not yet positioned ourselves correctly through obedience. By following His guidance consistently, you place yourself in the precise location, mindset, and spiritual state needed to receive the fullness of His blessings. Transformation then becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Obedience also fosters resilience. Life is filled with trials, distractions, and temptations that can divert you from the path God has set. Choosing obedience in the face of these challenges strengthens your spirit, reinforces your faith, and prepares you to handle the responsibility of transformation. True transformation is not just about the external blessings you receive, it is about becoming the person capable of sustaining and stewarding those blessings. Without obedience, the potential for growth and change remains untapped. With obedience, you step into a process that reshapes every aspect of your life. Furthermore, obedience cultivates alignment with God's greater purpose. Transformation is not just personal, it is part of a larger plan. When you obey, you participate in God's design, fulfilling not only your destiny, but contributing to the divine unfolding in ways you may never fully see. Each step of faith, each decision to comply with His guidance, acts as a catalyst for change. You become a vessel through which God's power flows, and as you transform, those around you are often affected in ways that magnify His glory. The beauty of transformation through obedience is that it is both guaranteed and progressive. You do not have to manipulate circumstances, force outcomes, or depend on luck. By simply choosing to obey God's guidance, you set into motion a chain reaction that reshapes your thoughts, your actions, your relationships, and your destiny. Every act of obedience aligns you closer with your true self, the person God intended you to become. Over time, the cumulative effect of these choices results in a profound, undeniable transformation that touches every aspect of your life. Obedience requires humility, patience, and faith, but it also delivers results that surpass understanding. When you align your actions with God's will, transformation is no longer a question of if, it is a matter of when. The changes you have prayed for, the breakthroughs you have longed for, and the miracles that seem distant all become inevitable. Your life begins to reflect God's plan, your spirit grows in strength, and your journey moves forward with divine momentum. Ultimately, obedience is the pathway to a life of purpose, fulfillment, and divine alignment. When you respond to God's guidance, you position yourself to receive everything He has prepared. Transformation is not just possible, it is unavoidable for those who faithfully follow His direction. The choice to obey is the choice to change, to grow, and to step fully into the destiny God has designed for you.